Welcome to the Digital Revolution podcast. I'm so very excited to have as my first official guest on the podcast, Mr. James Cross, who's the co-host of Coffee with Jim and James. James, welcome.
And welcome. You must be hurting for guests if I'm the first one. I'll tell you what, you're scraping the barrel. No, I'm
It's an
excited.
honor. Yeah, it's an honor because through both you, Jim and James, and your whole crew, we've been connected for a number of years, and
Yeah.
we've done some stuff together. And I really appreciate you coming on to the Digital Revolution and joining me here on the Revolution. Today's topic at James and I are going to be talking about is artificial intelligence and really kind of integrating that into content creation. And James will talk a little bit about how he does it, not only with Coffee with Jim and James, but also really as a content creator yourself, and then also as an influencer. As much as I view you as a content creator, you are definitely an influencer. And that you really incorporate a lot of not only the artificial intelligence but the content to really kind of make a big maximum impact. But before we go into all that, James, there are going to be a couple people out there, I'm sure, that might not know who you are. So if you want to go and provide a little bit of background on yourself, and maybe talk a little bit about a Coffee with Jim and James, the podcast.
You bet. Well, I'll just say, I think I said this last time. It's weird to be on this side of the mic. Sometimes the best part about having a podcast is just shutting up for a little bit and getting to listen, right? So I hope I can do it justice. My name is James Cross. I am the Chief Experience Officer at Energy WorldNet, who has been providing training and compliance in OQ for the last 30 years before there was OQ. So, and you're right. I have a podcast. Fortunately, still have a podcast. Me and my colleague, Jim Shower, who's been in the industry for a long time. And then now the joke with it is sometimes Ashley, because now Ashley's been roped in. The truth is, Jim, is that we've been very blessed over the last couple of years. When we made the transition of taking the show live, with taking it out into the industry and visiting conferences and interviewing people on the spot, it really changed the show. And the truth is over the last year, we realized we can't keep up with just two of us. And so that means that sometimes it's one of us, and sometimes it's two, and it's different pairings. And sometimes we're lucky and there's three of us. So we added Ashley, and Ashley's been amazing. She's learning about the industry as she goes. She brings a totally different perspective. And then Jim and I are still the same hunyucks that we've always been, just hamming it up and chatting with our friends. So it's been quite the experience. I've been at Energy WorldNet almost 8 years. And so, but that was me joining the natural gas industry, is where we serve. And so it's been a learning curve for me. The show has expedited that learning like nothing before. I joke all the time that I sit at tables with people I shouldn't be allowed to, to talk about things that I have no business talking about. But I've always been upfront and said, I'm learning. I've got my ears open. I've got my eyes open. Tell me more is really one of our slogans almost. And it's been amazing the last couple of years being able to benefit from that. So
Yeah, I mean,
influencer, I don't know, it feels so dirty to say that out loud, and we joke about it, but it's being able to sit down with people, I guess, confirms that, and turning around and getting to share those messages, it's not lost on us. I can promise you that.
yeah, and the really unique thing, and really for the longevity and also the growth curve that the series has had. You're talking about the energy market, you're talking about natural gas, and you do not have to be in the industry to appreciate this show that you have. And that's what I find very amazing, is that you've been able to not only bridge a lot of those subject matter experts and topics that are important to everybody who's listening right now. That
No
doesn't
doubt.
matter where you're in the world right now, very important topics, but also the aspect of entertainment, education, and also too, I think the rapport that you have with people, the conversations
Sure.
you have with people. And that's what really, I think, draws people in and has really helped really the growth of the series itself. So it's great. Like I say, it's great to have you on here. I really appreciate the series, and everyone who's tied to it does a very, very awesome job. And the other thing too for me, I think it really impressed me was with you also the adoption when it comes to a digital transformation of artificial intelligence. And as you use the word, you flex in AI into not only the series but other stuff that you do. What does it mean by kind of flexing in AI into content creation to you?
Well, and you know this, but maybe some other folks don't, or if they follow me, they probably do. But I have a tech background. I come from tech previous to Energy World Net. We're a tech company. Energy World Net is, yeah, we're a training company, but we do all this via tech, right? So there's always been software around it, and around me, and so that that really drove me scratching my own itch a bit, because you can leave tech behind, but it just follows you around. And you want to go back and check out all the new stuff. And AI was just wasn't what it was now. We knew it was coming. It was more machine learning, and it was so long, and there was no interface on top of it when I was in it, when I was writing code. But so when there became, when the GPT started coming out and you could really start putting your hands on it, for me, it made total sense on how to use it. Personally, I'm scared of jumping the fence and going too far, because that's just how I'm wired. It become an obsession, and I'll jump the fence and I'll start writing code again. And I don't think that's good for any of us. Then what would I do with the podcast, right? But there are ways that I do think that we can flex it as content creators, as business leaders. There are a lot of things that I just need a thinking partner, and that's what I call it, my thinking partner. I have some other names too, but it's funny, because that's really how I use it at first. A lot of times I know what I want to say, but if I put it down exactly the way I said it, it wouldn't land, because I just go off on a tangent, right? And just spit it all out. Sometimes I just need somebody to sort through it while I talk. There's days when I don't have Jim beside me, my Jim beside me at a show, and I'm driving into the show and I'm prepping using Scarlett, basically, and it sounds funny, but when I get there, I have something tangible to help me. And those are small examples, but what I mean is there's ways for all of us to really, it's not taking someone's job. You never would have got that way. You wouldn't have got that far. Like, that's the truth, because you didn't have the time. So I think that when I say flex it, there's ways right now that we can be better, and we know it. And if you're not able to get to that because you're so busy, then maybe you do need a little bitty helper that's in your pocket. That's how I see it anyway.
I completely agree with you. What I find fascinating about where we are today versus 5 years ago, and it doesn't matter if you're a content creator, any professional can really utilize these tools. What I find really amazing about it today is we're still at that beginning of it. The wave really hasn't picked up. It's starting to move and get larger and everything like that. But we're starting to see everything incorporated into AI, incorporated into so many resources and tools out there. To your point, how I utilize Chat GPT, for example, is as I'm doing show prep or I'm writing something, I will write it and I will quiz and query it and see if it comes up. Maybe I missed something, and then I can add that into it. And that's what I find fascinating about it. It's a good way to kind of sound off my ideas, my creative ideas
A
against
thinking
the AI.
partner,
And
right? I mean,
yeah,
and Jim, so I'll ask you. Oh, look, I'm gonna flip your podcast on you. So, did you ask it about Coffee with Jim and James before this episode?
I did. I asked it also too about also the topic that we're going to be covering. Talking about really
Yeah.
integrating AI into content creation, just to make sure that did I am I we going to be covering all the kind of the important bullets when it comes to what are some of the roles that AI currently plays in
Yeah.
content creation?
Well, I'm a big believer of if I'm going down a path, I want people to know it. I'm not trying to pull anything funny on anybody with AI. Y'all know I'm using it, right? I'm saying it on a podcast right here. It's being recorded. I've signed the waiver, right? Like I'm not hiding anything. In fact, next year I'll be on stage telling these stories of how we did this together and we were all watching, right? Um, I I have a bucket list speaking opportunity that I want, or a speaking idea that I really want to put legs around that is AI only, right? And I already have it in my head, but I'm not trying to hide anything. I can smell it a million miles away when it's AI. I can see your emojis on there trying to make it cooler. I can see it broke up into sections. I see your little titles. I know you can't put bullets in it. Like I know, but I'm not trying to hide anything. The content is the content. I would never put out anything that I'm not proud of, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I don't get that and go, that's a great start. Now I'm going to write the article. Or when I write an article, then I just backfeed it to make sure it's edited, right? I mean, there's things that everyone's doing right now, whether they're talking about it or not. And all I'm
Mhm.
saying is there's a place for it. And for those of us that have a lot of plate spinning and things going on, and which is all of us, it sounds like, then there is a place for it. And why not flex those things that are out there or get left
Yeah.
behind?
Yeah, or get left behind. A lot of times I get really asked the question is like, how do you do a full time job? And I do some volunteering as well. And then also too, how do you create not only a coatings and corrosion series, but also you're doing the digital revolution. And the thing I tell to everybody is that the tools and resources, especially now with like Canva and all these different really resources out there, they wrap in AI. It really makes it easy because what happens is you create a process, and then basically once you have that process in place, it's basically next episode, next episode, next episode.
Yeah,
Right now, for like example with the audio podcast, I've got episodes like this will release as soon as it can, but I've got stuff scheduled into deep into March right now.
no doubt. No doubt. It's really interesting, right? I mean, and like you said, it's built into basically every tool you're using now that's a SaaS tool. And it's either labeled or not. And I'm not saying every one of them, but all the major editing tools, and they are marketing in that way. We use
Yeah.
a great product as well, and it's new stuff's coming out every day. Like you're getting new features, I'm sure, in every software that you're using, and those are being done by AI. So even when you're not using or accepting AI, you are. So why not just lean into it?
Yeah, it's just wrapped in anything. Thumbnails. I use KineMaster, Power Direct. So, even the video editing now has all the different things. I can create graphics through
Well,
AI for video. I can edit it with the AI. I can do all the audio cleanup that way. I can also do video clip through AI. So there's so many resources to kind of help streamline everything. It's not a
yeah,
shortcut or a cheat. I always look at it this way. In our life, we gather knowledge, we learn, and then we take that and we put it into our own form and fashion to get it out there, either as a professional, an educator, a content creator. So, no matter what, we're working kind of like what AI does, machine learning. It's taking that data and it pulls everything together and puts it out there.
absolutely.
So, by kind of augmenting my content, to what we mentioned earlier, it's a way for me to kind of benchmark it, but also make sure, am I capturing everything? Because my ultimate goal is to make a series, a podcast, video, no matter what it is, whatever content I'm doing, I need to make sure that it's interesting, that people will like it, share it, and then also too they will follow me, because that's the metric that's really important.
Yeah, and that's part of it too, right? That's part of there are people that follow me that never would have given me an eye simply because I was a natural gas. and and I am educating by proxy those same people that, we're not the big bad wolf, or, I mean, because again, we bonded on AI, but now they're listening enough to go, well, I'll listen to that. And that's not what I'm trying to do, but what I'm saying is part of me is learning AI, and part of me is technology. I've been saying that from the beginning. Why would I change now? Of course I'm excited about what's going on. I mean, we're in a revolution, the revolution. I mean, period. It's the next one. We're right in it.
Yeah, when you do think about, you go from the Industrial Revolution, we kind of went into a digital revolution with computer systems, and now we're going into that AI revolution as well. So there's so many things happening. Let's go ahead and let's move on to really the role of AI in content creation. And there are 5 areas that I wanted to talk with and get your perspective on. The first one I think it's really important about AI and its role within content creation is enhancing efficiency in content creation. And what I mean by that is kind of what we just talked about, where you can set up a process and then you can automate it. There are a lot of tools out there which do come at a price, but there's a lot of resources out there that could be sometimes even limited free or low cost to be able to really improve efficiency.
Yeah.
In your perspective with AI, how beneficial is AI with enhancing efficiency?
I mean, I was the nerd that builds databases for everything anyway, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I I was used to working tickets through statuses, right? Before everything else went to tickets, right? I mean, I was a tech guy. That's how we did things. Everything was sprints and everything, So it was just second nature for me to build that way. So I can tell you, even without AI, our systems behind delivering Coffee with Jim and James were solid and are solid. They're the same ones, and we continue to model and look around and make sure we're doing better things. But we want those running sharp because that's what gets us out fast. That gets us out more, and it's got to handle load, right? And so
Yeah.
we've kept that front and center. And whether anyone else is as proud of it as I am, it doesn't matter, because to me, that's that integrity, right? You come from a coatings background, you understand like some things are what they are and they don't budge. Like for us, that was having really tight systems because our goal was always to be as busy as we are this year, right? And to record 30 interviews when we were at this one and 50 here and turn it into a machine and test those systems. So efficiency was important before AI was ever talked about. Because 4 years ago, we weren't really that excited about it. I hadn't got our hands on it, right? But we had tight systems. So, I think AI just takes it to another level. And
Yeah.
there's a comfort level we all have to get to. And again, I'm not trying to run people off of jobs, but I want you to be able to use the tools to be sure you're using your skills the way you need to be using it, right? Like there's a lot of things AI can't do, and that's shaking people's hands and looking at that and making sure there's no anomalies in it because it's not perfect yet, right? We know that. We're not trying to do away with that. So to me, it plays so well with efficiency. There's no question.
Yeah, there's so much plus side if you're, as an influencer or a content creator. The second thing that really comes to mind as a role is improving content quality. And where I see the content quality is the AI enhancements that are done to the video editors, the audio editors. I utilize Buzzsprout as my base platform for the audio podcast, and it has, Magic Mastering, which can really
Yeah.
kind of, it levels out those highs and lows. It does a little bit of filtering, but also too, when I run through a video editor, I can clean up noise, I can clean up the video, I can create things
Yeah.
through that. And some of the other areas too that I'm looking at, and this is probably I think I could see people viewing as a cheat. I'm actually considering doing a digital clone of my voice. And the reason why I do that is what I've noticed with listening to myself on my own audio podcast, I have certain ways that I talk and certain things come out, and I think are distracting. And I've been actually getting feedback, trying to get feedback from people asking questions. And I think a lot of people that I have feedback from, they're they're more my friends, and they're not going to tell me, hey, you kind of sound like, you don't really sound like you're a good podcaster. And so, those are things I'm kicking around, is looking at, I can provide 30 minutes of audio to the AI, and it can digitally clone, and it will sound just like Jim Kunkel, but it won't have all the clicks and the S's, and it won't have all those type of human
It's funny.
characteristics that we
It's
typically
funny
have when we
that
talk.
you feel the same way about yourself. We should do a whole episode on just talking how much we hate listening to our own voice, and our go to taglines and uhs and whatnots. I have seen that. I've seen the video versions as well. I haven't gone that far. I see the value as a. I'll tell you this, as a coming from a training company and knowing how hard it is to get SMEs and get them lined up and get them to record and get them to do things. Like, part of me goes, man, if you will write me a script, I'll create an avatar that can do it, right? But yeah, there's some things that I think I subscribe to, like the Gary V method of content creation, right? Create one thing and 147 different versions of it and reuse it. So I'm all for. I'm on Facebook, and I take a screenshot of my post on Facebook, and that's a post I use somewhere else or on TikTok or wherever. So, but using some of the tools now, like you said, the magic clips and things where I can press a button and I've got 14 things that I would have had to go and find and pull, which is part of the gig. I love it just as much as any, but it would have took me 2 hours, and now I'm just flipping through some 14-second clips. Those are gold, man. And I know designers are cringing when they say that, but listen, you never want to listen to my stuff for 40 minutes. No, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not some of the jobs the tasks are not the greatest tasks that you want to do. And the good people realize they can push a button and then go merge and cut from there, right? So,
Yeah.
and TikTok, I mean, come on. CapCut, taking some of that hard work and making it fast so that content creators can focus on creating content, not on editing and producing and doing all that. Now it's fast, and it's high quality.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's what's really important, because it comes down to impressions. You need to really have strong impressions with people. As much as you have to have really relevant and interesting content, it comes down to impressions and things like that.
And if you can't get it
Um,
out because you've got a logjam of creative, in your head, and so you can't sit down, because those of us that play multiple roles or wear multiple hats like that, thank God I was a designer. I love design, so I was able to do some of that stuff. But if not, you're either waiting on people or resources or time or money or yourself. And if you're doing it all, it's hard to flip to that other hat. And AI allows you to do that fast.
it really does. The next area I want to cover, and this is something that's really benefited me, some of the tools that are built into really the research and analysis type of things when it comes to your content. There are a few tools out there that if you have a YouTube channel or you're putting out other type of content, even some that we're starting to see in different platforms, LinkedIn's kind of starting to look at stuff like this, is really automated research and data analysis. And what I mean by that is, with a YouTube channel, if you're in a particular industry, you can actually ask the Google Analytics to give you recommendations on what are the hot topics right now in
Yeah.
my industry or in my topic, in my genre. And it will give it to you. So now if you want to do short form content, maybe you're going to do some shorts, or you're going to do reels, or you're going to do whatever you're going to do, video, you can create content, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to hashtag it. You're going to direct it to those real hot topics that are trending out there. And then again, that can drive. I just did actually a live stream on the Rabbit AI Companion. There's this new device coming out.
Yeah.
Do you know
Didn't you
about
have
that?
two folks on there that you were talking to about, or was that a different one? I remember seeing something online
That's
about it. I thought it
that's
was
a different one. But I had the CEO and the founder of the device actually. During the Consumer Electronics Show, he had done a presentation, which was just a few weeks before the live stream, maybe 2 weeks before the live stream. And then I also added some aspect of where, in my opinion, the mobile phone it's a dinosaur. It's dead now because these AI companions are going to take over, and you don't need, an operating system with these things. You don't need apps. You know what I mean? But the thing with it was I did the live stream, very well viewed. I take the live stream, and you were kind of alluding to this earlier, where you could do one recording and make multiple things with that content. So what I did was I put that content out as a video. I edited it, put it out as a video, and instantly by tagging it properly, I get over 1,600 immediate views on the video,
Wow.
and then that ultimately helps out too because now you're starting to see subscribers come in. You're getting interaction with those
It's a
viewers
win-win.
where they're saying, "I like this," or "I don't like it," or
Yeah,
"I'm
I
not
guess that's the hard
sure."
part, Jim. And we've been grinding just about the same amount of time on all
Yeah,
of this. So you're trying to figure it out. You don't know if it's a thumbnail sometimes that did it, because honestly, that's just as important, if not the most, right?
yeah,
TikTok has a hook, whatever it might be. You have to learn all these different parts. And AI is allowing you to really chunk down that data in different areas. And I'll tell you, we do a lot of ours on LinkedIn. So I'll be honest, LinkedIn, pick up your game. Give us some more tools. We'd like to see where people fall off, right? And what's working and not, and so that we can be more productive too, right? And
yeah,
you go to a TikTok and you look at, man, you can dive into the seconds and milliseconds, and what's performing, and uh, man, that's an art in itself, you know. So I'm waiting for. I need to make me a little AI assistant that'll just do all that for me, because that's my struggle, is keeping up with all the different places and how to act in each one, right? So
yeah,
it's interesting. I'm an R&D guy. I do a lot of my own R&D. I'm an old search engine optimization person. So, before that was, something that I really got into, I mean, for a long time. And so to me, it's very akin to that. It scratches that itch a little bit. But there's a lot of growth in that area. That's what I'm excited for, content creators, right? Because that's
yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. The fourth role is streamlining content production and process, and we've really talked a lot about that. And then the fifth role is optimizing content distribution. I think this is where it's really important. As a content creator, ultimately what you would like to do is, if you're in a particular industry or you have a certain type of genre you talk about, is to, for example, take a live stream. Let's say, for example, we were live right now and we're broadcasting. So there's the first form of the content. I take the recording of you and I, and we put it out as a video. The
100%.
third thing is I take the audio and put it out as an audio podcast. The fourth thing I do is I take our text and put it out as a blog or type of an interview.
Yep.
And then I can take it and divide it all up, slice and dice it, and put it out as clips, reels, shorts, whatever you want to do to help drive something. And I think that's what's really unique about it. And if you got a website, you can throw stuff onto the website too.
Sure.
But what I think is really wild about that is you've taken one element of content you create, just a live stream, and you've taken and you might have really morphed it out into 5 or 6 or more different pieces of content, or whatever you're looking to do with it. It just has a multiplier just from one action.
It is really neat. And kind of nodding back to that Gary Vee thing, right? If you've ever read
Mm-hmm.
that PDF that he puts out, and that concept, when we bring the show live to an event, we're never live like on LinkedIn or anywhere, right? But we record live and we don't edit down the other way, right? So,
Yeah.
but when we're there, it's a spectacle.
Yes.
Jim, you've been to plenty of
Yeah.
shows in your time, and you know how they are, and you know how the receptions are. There's just literally not much going on. Sometimes there's cornhole. I mean, that's about as exciting as it gets. And so it feels like the media is there. I mean, it is. It's a podcast live, and we're all sitting down, and people gather around and watch. And there's
Yeah.
lights and camera and action, and we laugh and have a good time. That's one. And then when we're able to come back and turn that into many, it's a content creator's dream. I mean, and you're right. We turn it into quotes, standing quotes.
Yeah.
We have about 10 things that we run it through.
Oh,
Plus,
nice.
plus we hand it back to them and educate them the same thing, because as marketers on the other side, it would have been our dream to, number one, get and I'm going to call it what it is, a free resource, whether it's provided by the association, EWN, or anyone else, that will record with you, take that, put it out for months. And there's no limit. You could come sit down with every single one of your people, could come sit down. And for months it could come out. And then I hand it to you and say, use it in your presentations, because there's nothing quite like, last week I was on a podcast, let's watch this video. There's this, that, and the other. You can use it on your socials. I'll tag you. We'll tag you. We work together. Marketers are pumped. Why wouldn't you be? And so it's exponential, right? Because if they use the same concept, they're itching for more content too, and especially video content. So it's a win-win. I mean, well, we should have content for years after this one, Jim.
Oh, I agree completely. And I'm smiling as you're talking, because I'm actually mentally making some bullets of what you just said, because those are ideas that, most of them I never even thought about. I don't know why, but they're great ideas that I could do, not only for like content I make for my, my job, my call it 9 to 5 job,
100%.
but also too related to the content I do both in, the Coding's Talk side and also the Digital Revolution.
Yeah.
James, I'm sorry, but you had something else to add to that?
No, sir.
Okay. Before we close out this episode, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to leave with the viewers and the listeners?
No, we're entering our 5th season on the show, which is a wild thing to say out loud. We didn't know what this was when we started, and I don't know that we still do. But we've stayed centered on spreading the messages and sitting down with folks. It still is some of the best content we've ever made, is when we sit down with people and drink coffee and talk. And we continue to get to do that. And sometimes it's CEOs and presidents, and sometimes it's folks in the field, and sometimes it's HR, and it's everyone in between, because every single one of them has a value in this story, right? And so it's been a really neat experience. It's not lost on myself, Jim, or sometimes Ashley. But we're thankful this year to be out as much as we are. We know a lot of associations worked with us to get us there. It's going to be a phenomenal year. We have never been this excited. Not that the years past weren't, but we're going all over. We're taking the show, we're calling it the Great North American Road Trip. And we're gonna be taking it everywhere. We're excited to bring those stories back. So hook up with us. Follow along, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere you listen to podcasts, because we'll be there. We hope, right?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. And to a very successful 24 and beyond. I'm really looking forward to the future of the series, and definitely follow the series on all the social platforms. And then also too, I think with the audio podcast, you're on all the major audio providers, Apple,
anywhere
podcasts,
you listen
everybody.
to podcasts, just search for us, Coffee with Jim and James.
Excellent. So after this broadcast ends, make sure that you definitely listen or search up and follow and subscribe. Coffee with Jim and James. So James, thank you so much. And I appreciate everyone listening in, watching this episode. Great conversation, great interview. And I just ask for everyone to make sure that you are following and subscribe to the Digital Revolution with Jim Kunkel podcast, and also to the Digital Revolution YouTube channel. The views are going up very well. I just need to figure out the equation to get everybody to start subscribing versus the massive numbers that are consuming the content, but they're not subscribing. But we'll figure that out.
Story of our life, Jim. The story of our life. That's a whole nother episode.
It is. So thank you, everybody. I really greatly appreciate it. James, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, sir.